industry development.
Well, good morning. So if you came here to buy something, you're probably going to be a bit disappointed because I'm not a salesman, which is a disappointment to my father as well. He's not a salesman, he's a preacher, and he figured a salesman is about as close as I'm going to get to that, and I missed the mark a little bit, went into software development, and ended up coming up through that ranks. But what I did want to do is take a little bit of time to walk you through Zillow, sort of why we exist, what we're about, and how you can interact with it, setting up your profiles, doing the stuff at a free level. I'll touch a little bit on some of the stuff you can pay for towards the end. Really the focus is how do you get involved in this world. So think of it as kind of a 101 to the world. Now, when you go, and we'll have time at the end for questions, but feel free to throw something at me if you have a real burning question you can't hold to the end. When you go to Zillow, you think of it as the site where people go to find homes that are for sale, but it's actually bigger than that. And the way that it started is actually kind of interesting. Our view is that it is a place to look at the world of homes. All 110 million properties in the United States. Every home, your homes, your neighbors' homes, the homes that are for sale, the homes that have been in the past. So our focus is really the entire world of real estate. And the purpose behind that is the American consumer is fascinated by real estate. I mean, 77 million people came to Zillow last month to take a look at homes. We know that not that many people are buying, and so there's this huge fascination. And so we're a media company. And as a media company, what do? You create the most exciting television shows you can, or the most exciting programs, the most exciting print articles, depending on which form of media you're in. And then you have advertisers spend their money to advertise around that content. And that's exactly what we are. So we create content, we take content, we use your content, whatever we can to bring in to create an exciting experience for consumers to come and go there. So our focus is as a media company, so we kind of talk like a media company and we kind of act like a media company. We're founded in 2006, so we've been around for about 7 years. And again, in the early days, the focus was really just about gathering all that information about what's happening in the world. So let's just do a little bit of history. When Zillow started, some of you may remember this, for the first 3 years, it didn't have any listings on the site at all. It was basically a gathering of all of the public information that was around homes into a single place. The idea was probably, instead of being more like, like a listing site, the idea was really more like Wikipedia. Now, how many of you have ever used Wikipedia? What did Wikipedia do? They went out and they gathered all the information that was laying around in dusty books or in archives that were really difficult to get to, and they had people put it into a central location and update it and edit it, and it became the go-to place that people went to find information. When you think about real estate, where did real estate data where did it exist? It existed in public record files, hidden away in all these arcane places. It was really difficult for the average consumer to get the information. So the idea was, let's bring that into a central location and let's make this fun for the American consumer to look at their homes, educational for that. A similar model is IMDb. I don't know how many people go here. This is the database of every movie and every television show. So if you wanted to know who was the actor in this mid-80s comedy, well, you could ask my wife because she has them all memorized. Or you could go to IMDb because that's where they do that. So the idea behind Zillow when it started was let's gather all of this information about real estate, let's put it into a spot, and let's have this great consumer experience for there. Now, when you have all those homes on there, of course, what's the burning question that most homeowners have? What's my home worth? What is it going to be? I may not be interested in selling at this moment, so I'm not going to bother a professional's time to do a full CMA. I just want to get a gauge for that. And so Zillow became known for its Zestimate. It was this computer algorithm where we began to gather this data that was laying around and began to try to organize it in a way for the consumers to get attention and what interest it had. There were over 2 million people that came to Zillow in the first 3 days that it launched. And so there was this pent-up demand for that. And of course, after about 3 years, the advertising model started, and what happened is brokers began to come to Zillow and say, listen, you're showing homes on there that are also for sale. Wouldn't it be interesting if you could actually tell those consumers that are coming there that is for sale, and that's how Zillow actually got started into getting the listing feeds, and now it's culminated with actually working with the MLSs directly, getting a pure set of data from the MLSs. So not only are the 110 million homes there, but the roughly 3.5 million homes that are for sale at any given time are actually there and updated and accurate as well. So that's kind of the history about how Zillow started. So we come out with the world a little different. Instead of just focusing on the listing side, which is obviously the sugar, the coating on top of the cupcake, it's the part that people are interested in, but it's actually the entire world of real estate, all of the homes in America, your homes, your neighbor home, my home, and you know, all of your ex's homes. You want to see how they're doing for them. But that Zestimate has stuck with us, and it's a core part of our program. So if you go to Zillow.com, and we'll just dump right into it, and you go down to the bottom of the page. In fact, this is true on any page on Zillow, you'll see this word Zestimate. And what we try to do is explain it and talk about it, and this is something you can begin to use in your conversations with your clients as well. And we try to dump as much information out there for you to do as possible. If you click on that link, it goes to a page. I have a slightly bigger one here. This is a bit of an eye chart that says, what is a Zestimate? And the first thing it says is it is not an appraisal. An appraisal is something special. It's a step beyond this, but appraisals only happen on a very few homes. The ones that are ready for a transaction or ready to do a mortgage refinance, there may be an appraisal. The Zestimate is trying to cover most of those 110 million homes across the United States. So we're going for breadth across that on homes that may never be able to have an appraiser because they're not going through that process for that. But what you can do, if you go into Huntsville, Alabama, or wherever the area that you work, and you slide down to the bottom of that page and click on that link that says Zestimates, you can actually bring up the data for your area. And what we do is, because we're sort of about transparency and about showing your laundry, even if it's dirty, we will tell you how good we think we are in any area of the country. Now, this is the county. This is Madison County, isn't it? Okay. So if you go to Madison County, if you're in Jackson County, we're not very good. We give ourselves a 1 star and basically says, we kind of have what the county says, and if the county says it's this, that's all we have. We can't really improve because there's not enough data for that. But in the areas where there's data, like Madison would say, you know what, we don't think we're doing too bad when you look at the scale of what we try to do. And you can be the judge of that. You're obviously better, and you can take it to the next level. But at the superficial 10,000-foot level, we say there's 166,000 homes in this area. We have Zestimates on about 125,000. So we're about at the 80% mark coverage there. Why do we miss some? Well, vacant land and a few other things are a little hard to those on. And then we tell us how good we are by looking at past transactions. So close to 45% of the time, we were within 5% of the actual sales price. And then within 70% of the time, we were within 10%, and over 81, almost 82%, we were within 20% of the sales price for that. And so we do this on every month. We update this. We do that on every county in the area. And you can actually use this now in your presentation. So if someone's looking at their home and that maybe it's a little off, you can say, well, yeah, this is why. This is a computer that's taking a wide swath across it. It's a great starting place. It starts that conversation. Homeowners coming to the site saying, well, what's it worth? Okay, now let me go to the next step and talk to a professional and take it to the next level. But we actually try to give as much information on exactly where things stand for it. Now, how many of you were statistics majors in college? I wasn't. It was a 1. So now I have to be very careful, because normally I just make this next part up. Because I was a philosophy major in college, so numbers are irrelevant, right? You know. But this last number at the end, 5.6%, what we're saying is that we try with the Zestimate to split so that as many errors are overpriced as underpriced. And so that's as you gauge through. And so if you look at the median, if you look at the split, the properties between the highest one and the lowest, and you take the median out of the middle, about 5.6% are undervalued according to the real sales price, and about 5.6% are overvalued for that. So the goal with this estimate is to try to walk this even line so that we keep as many wrong on both sides of the line as we can, and continually try to get them better as time goes on. Now, better is in two ways for us, and this may be a bit more interesting to me than it is to you, but better is in two ways. One, getting closer to the price that the home actually sells for. That's the accuracy. But better is also in breadth, picking up those homes that are harder to value and actually trying to get better on those. So we have a fairly wide swath. We do almost all properties in the United States. And our average across all properties in the United States is 70% we actually get within 10% of the price they actually sell for. Now, the 30%, yeah, that's our future, right? That's called job security for that there. All right, now, a couple things for this that you may also not know. If you go spend time on Zillow, you can see this. When you slide down the page, there's actually a range. So we put a number on there because everybody wants a number, but actually if you slide down the page, we give a fairly wide range and say this is probably between this somewhere. And when you look at the range, our hit rate actually goes up closer to 90% by the time we actually hit it within that range for that. Now, what happens if we're way off? We just completely missed the mark. We have the wrong information, so our value is completely off. As an agent, if this is your listing and you claim that listing, you can actually put comments directly on the page. The homeowners can actually put comments on the page. Again, going back to that sort of Wikipedia model, as long as it's an authenticated user and we know the source of it, we're not afraid of information. And so as an agent, you can actually go in there, claim the listing, and say, you know what, this estimate's too low. I know things about this house that the computer didn't know. And this estimate is off, and that's why the price that you see is actually more valid than this estimate's on there. It allows agents to get involved in that and begin to communicate with the millions of people that are coming through on the site. So how does this work? There's estimates to a certain degree. We take three basic pieces. We take the attributes of the house. I mean, it's how many bedrooms, what size is it, square footage, that. We take some of the tax assessment data because that does go up and, well, it never goes down, right? It just goes up and up compared to other things. And then prior sales prices in an area. So the more information is available, the better. That goes into this big machine that kicks around. It looks at a bunch of stuff like proximity to waters and what side of the street is it on and all of these other things. And it comes out with a score, and that's how the range comes out. This computer, surprising as this may be, has never been inside that house. You have. And so that's the difference, and that's how it's positioned. It's a high-level walkthrough of the data. Now, it's not one model for the entire United States. We actually are up to over 100 different models, depending on whether we're urban or rural, or if you're high-rise, if you're in certain parts of the country versus others. Things act differently. In fact, they act differently depending on the economy and what your economy is based on. If it's an agri-economy or a manufacturing economy, because house prices actually go up and down according to the economy, we play those all into that deal. Now, why do we do it? Well, one, because we believe in exposing as much information to the consumer as possible. That's sort of our model. But also, consumers love it. They actually are very engaged with it. And it shows in our numbers. We had 77 million people come onto Zillow in the month of March. It's a huge amount of traffic for them. When we take a look at that traffic, majority of it is going to mobile. We're about 60% on mobile during the weekdays, and we're creeping up towards 73% to mobile on weekends. So it has been this device that has really changed the world. When you look at it across the spectrum of it, we're about twice what Trulia has on there, about 4 times what Realtor.com, and we have over 28 different mobile apps targeting all the different things that we have for that. So this idea is to build this living database of all of these 110 million homes and all the people that live in them. We want to know things about people and places and things and what is it near and what is important to people, and that's what captures that attention of that consumer and keeps bringing them back to the site as they go through. And this is an interesting thing. The NAR actually did the study. Over the last 10 years, the average consumer now spends twice as much time investigating a purchase before they actually go from investigation mode to decision mode. Now, that decision mode transfer is fairly quick. Most consumers only spend about 1 day making that flip over from I'm looking on myself, I'm looking, and now I want to make a decision. And that's when they want to reach out to the professionals in the audience and actually grab a hold of them and take them to the next thing. All right, so a couple things how you can use Zillow. One, we have Make Me Moves on there. How many of you have ever seen these Make Me Moves? Anybody know what those are? Any homeowner in America can go on there and say, I don't know if I want to sell my house, but if I could get this amount for it, I might be interested. It's not an offer to sell. It's not a FSBO. It's just is anyone interested in this home at this price? And they'll throw it out there, and we'll keep them on the site unless they update them. We'll take them off after a period of time. But what a better opportunity for those of you who are looking at people who are interested in selling a home than someone who raises their hand and says, I'm interested in selling a house, and they actually put it out on a major site for that. And so there's several places you'll say, make me move on the site. And for you to actually search them, if you go into Zillow and you go into the search module, there's the for sale stuff, but you can go to this pre-market. And under pre-market, there's make me move, and it looks like there's 37 in the Huntsville area and the search area that I have up here. So that's not a lot, but these are consumers that put their hand up and said, I'm kind of interested in selling, and here's the price that I'm willing to do. And whether or not they're close on their price or not is up to you as you begin to contact them. Now, they're going to get a lot of people contacting them, trying to get them to actually flip over and list it for sale with you. This is where you can hone your skills on what is actually effective in reaching out to them. How do you connect with them? How do you get them to respond, etc.? But these are consumers that put their hand up. The other thing that we have on Zillow is basically all the pre-foreclosure data we can possibly get. So we have all the stuff that's coming into pre-foreclosure. This is notice of default before it goes into full foreclosure. We have foreclosures. We have a deal with auction.com, so we have all of the auction data up there as well. So for you to be absolutely covered in your neighborhood and know everything that's going on, you can actually use the data that's here that you may not always have through other sources. And so you could use these to either educate your clients or educate yourself, figure out what's in the market, what's coming up, what status things are there. And so we dump all of that data in there. It's thousands of pieces of data around everything that's on the site. The other part where you can just get involved in Zillow, and this is free, doesn't cost anything, is in the advice section. We have hundreds of thousands of consumers who come every month and ask questions. And they're asking questions of professionals, and we don't block that. So any professional can say, I want to answer questions. You get engaged, you get involved in that community, and you build up a brand identity in your community of people who know the answers, people who know how to respond to them. It's called the advice section. It's at the top of Zillow. You can go in there, and people have all kinds of questions for there. And we get bubble the responses to the top. People have threads and conversations. If you're in Active Rain or any of those other Trulia voices, you're familiar with this. It's a very, very active community of people who are looking for data there. So that's the first thing you can do. It's just free. It doesn't cost anything. Get involved. Take a look at the Make Me Moves. Take a look at that data and see what you can do. The second thing, and this is also free, and this is very important, is to create a Zillow profile. Now, let me tell a story. Why is the profile important? So when Alexander Graham Bell first came out with a telephone, and his was a little bit older than this one, but you get the idea, there was an interesting issue with his company. Because his famous saying that he said is, this device is for business, this is not for chit-chat. And he actually refused to sell the telephone to anyone that was going to use it for chit-chat. And in fact, the whole pricing model of the telephone, when it came out in about 1877, when the first registry was opened, I think in Boston, it was for businesses only. They priced it for businesses. In fact, they didn't want it in homes. Now, anybody have any ideas why? What was his history? What came before the telephone? The telegraph. And what was the telegraph for? Business. You never used it for chit-chat because how could you, right? And so it was business to business. And so when the telephone came out, it fit in that paradigm. And it literally took 25 years for people's models around how to use the telephone to take over. And of course, now we all have one in our homes. And what do we use it primarily for? Chit-chat. It took that while. It's funny, we're going through that same revolution now with these things that we call phones. How many of you have teenagers or older? Or in that age. Do they use these as phones? No. My son never. If you call him, it goes to voicemail, and 30 seconds later you get a text that says, what? But we still call them phones. And so it takes a while for this paradigm shift. And I would suggest that there's a paradigm shift in real estate. And the paradigm shift is not from telegraph to telephone. It's from print advertising to online advertising. And there's a shift, a mental shift. That mental shift is when you advertise in the newspaper, you generally advertise the property. The property was the center of the advertisement. That's what you wanted to communicate because the rest of the data was not available. So the property stood out. We sort of came into the internet age with that same model that I'm going to advertise the property. But that model has shifted just like the phones have shifted. The property, honestly, is data. Now, it can be really interesting data. It can be very cool data. It can be great pictures. It can be new information, etc. What is being advertised if it's not the property? You. That's the paradigm shift. The consumers expect the property to be there. That's not the advertisement. That's sort of a glorified, great piece of data that's you can enhance, and the better you enhance it, the more they click on it. But what is actually being advertised is you. So now back to the profiles, because what is that profile? That profile is your advertisement. It's how you show yourself to the world, and you can set that up on free on our site. You can set that up on free on Trulia. You can set it up free on Realtor.com. I mean, there's huge opportunities out there for consumers to take a look. So how do you do it if you haven't done this? Well, you go and sign up a new account. We have to know who you are. You put some basic data in there. And then what you do is you go in, and because you've set up that basic profile, and because your MLS has automatically started sending the data and the package that we worked out with them, every listing agent automatically gets the top spot on their own listing. So you have a free opportunity to get calls, you get leads, etc. But if you were going to, as a consumer, put yourself in the mind of a consumer, pick between one of those, who would you probably pick? Probably not the top one, because that's just the first stage. That the advertisement is there for that person, but now we need to go in and flush it out. So here's the basic steps. This is free. So the MLS, because of the MLS partnership, this is the way it used to work, and now with the MLS partnership, this is the way it works. The listing agent is on the top of every single one of their listings. Their phone number's there, contact data is there, but this, yes, this is what you want to show to the consumers. So now you've got the spot. You've got the spot to show. Now you've got to begin to build it out, because this is your advertisement of yourself to the world. And what you do is you go in there. Oh, you also get at the bottom of the page, and you get your logo and a bunch of other stuff there as well. So go into your profile. This is the profile once you begin to set it up. And you can upload a photo, and that's just the basic things that you should do for that. But then if you're logged in as yourself, you have this toolbar, and under this toolbar you have this edit, and you have edit profile, and that's where you begin to build out your advertisement to the consumer audience. Now, just to help you, we've also got this checklist down the side. And it says, this is how you really step on the gas. This is how you show yourself. And we'll go through check by check all the things that you should be doing. And just to annoy you, it never does get to 100%. It just stays always that shy, because as marketers, you know you never 100% complete the job. It's like LinkedIn profile, right? You know, you're always missing something on that thing. But here, you go in there and do that. Now, one of the things you can do, and this is critical, is get reviews. Now, I travel a lot. Last year, I think I was in 143 different hotels. And when doing that, you tend to eat out a lot, and you tend to come to a new city, you tend to find hotels. What do I look for? Reviews. Yeah. You go on and say, what do people think about this hotel? What do people think about this restaurant? You go to Yelp, you go to OpenTable, you go wherever it is to take a look at that information. And generally, it steers you right. Generally, it steers you expensive too, but nonetheless, because that tends to improve the quality. But nonetheless, their reviews are important, and they're just as important in this world here. The magic marker is at least getting a review. Because all of a sudden you'll see an uptick in the amount of people who will pick you to talk to you and pick you as a professional. If you get over 5, all of a sudden you begin to have the credibility. And all of a sudden that begins to take off. 5 sort of that magic mark where you begin to really accelerate the number of people who see you as a professional in the market. Now, I know people are afraid of bad reviews. But what is a bad review? Depends on how bad it really is. But it's sort of some negative reviews say about you. It says you're human. It says you're interacting with people. You're in a job where you can't always control who's on the other side. And so the truth is, there was a survey that came out that said 90% of people believe reviews if there is one slightly negative one or negative one in their pile, because if they're all 100% perfect, they don't necessarily believe it's all true. And so don't terribly worry about that. You can deal with that. But request those reviews. And what you can do is either Zillow, we can help you send out notices to your past clients, the clients you're in transaction with, and say, can you do it? Or what we'll do is we'll create a custom URL that you can then stick into your own email and send it to your clients and say, hey, this would sound like, it felt like a really good transaction. You're so happy we got the house that you wanted. Would you mind giving me a quick review? And if you titled that email, by the way, you can win a free $5 Starbucks card. It will get open. And then they might actually fill it out. So there's the things you can do for that to get those reviews into place. The second thing that you can do, and this is more automated now because we have the flow of data coming from the NALMLS, is claiming your past sales. This is your resume. So if you have two parts of your review, one is what you have done and what people think of you. Those are the reviews. These are the billions and billions served. This is what you have done. This is your past for that. So you can go in there and claim either side of the transaction. And what happens then is here when you show up with your reviews, you show up with your recent sales, and that becomes your advertisement to the world. And that's available across the site for that. If they go into your profile, all of your past sales and current transactions are available within your profile, and this becomes your statement to the world of who I am and what I do and why you should pick me for that. There's a flyer being passed around that goes through all of this and gives you the detail on how to do all of these steps in a glossy format for that. All right, so that's that free thing that you should do. Do that. Why should you do that? For a couple of reasons. One, it's free and it's a good thing to set up. But it will start a free flow of leads to you. And that's important because unless you know how to handle leads, unless you know how to deal with that, unless you have figured out how to respond to them, I would stay away from buying anything. Because all that's going to do is accelerate the amount of anxiety you have if you haven't figured out how to deal with internet leads. So take the time to do that. How many of you remember dating? I'm having my 25th wedding anniversary this year, so I don't know. That's been 28 years ago when I had to cross that bridge. This is online dating. You know, the consumers, when they click on that profile or click on that house and they say, can you tell me more information about this house? That's what they want to say. How long have they spent online looking at that house? Months. They probably know more about it than you do. They have spent ages of time looking through it. That's not the question they're asking. I mean, it is the question they're asking, but what they're asking for is, what don't I know? What are the things that I haven't seen? What are the questions I should have been asking? What are the things that you can tell me to ask that I haven't thought of? And how you respond to that is just like that really awkward stage when you walk up to the person and you have that snappy opening line and you throw it out there to see whether or not it gets a hook for that, wherever the setting might be. So this is that how do you connect with them? I would practice. Practice different email templates. Practice different responses. See what works to the consumer. I bet it would be different at different price points and different parts of the area how you respond to actually get them to come through. But if you're interested in buying, we do have products for that. I'll just tell you what they are. I actually don't know how to tell them to you, so you're on your own on that. But what we have is obviously we have the listing agent at the top, but we have this spot here. These are called Premier Agents, and those are sold on impression based. Again, we're a media company. And so the way that we sell them is you buy a certain number of impressions. An impression is the number of times you show up. And those are sold, and the prices are completely dependent on the traffic and the zip code, etc. But if you want to buy 10,000 impressions, and the 10,000 impressions are available, there's a sales guy available to tell you exactly what that could be and get you all set up for that. So that's our product. We're an advertising model. We sell impressions for that. But we also do a few other things. On your own listings, up to 10 of your own listings, if you're part of that package, you are the only one on it. So it basically becomes the default where you're the only contact on that. Now, some of your brokerages may have other plans, that they negotiate, but this is the standard sort of package for agents. So your own listings for that. But remember how I started the story. Zillow is more than just listings. And so there's all of those other 107 million homes that aren't for sale that people are actively going to, actively looking at, actively going to for their own. And that is where the bulk of the process is. You can actually be on that. And so the consumers who are in your neighborhood looking at their own properties on Zillow, 77 million of them spread across the United States, what they do is they get brand impression after brand impression of brand impression of you. And eventually when they connect with you, what we hear often is they say, hey, I know you. I met you on Zillow. I saw your face as I went through this neighborhood looking at homes, not even the ones that are for sale, all of the other ones, and they get this connection with people, how they're going to connect to them. That's the importance of being for that. We're also on Yahoo. We power Yahoo. We power AOL. We power Front Door. And of course, then the whole mobile scene as well for that. So if you're interested in those the paid products that are available, there's telephone numbers you can call for that. But I just want to understand the model, the media model that we come up. But in every case within this MLS, that listing agent is at the top there with the full ability for the consumer to contact. So make sure you fill out that profile. Make sure you look like the expert in that area for them to contact. Now, when you start getting leads, whether you pay for them or use the free leads, a few things are very, very important. One, and you've heard this one how many times now, right? This is the age-old thing. You've got to respond, and you've got to respond quick. Because the faster the response time, the more chance you have of closing it, the more it's a substantive response. People understand if there's a human or a machine behind it. And so if you have an automated response, at least change it every once in a while, update it, make it feel like there's at least flesh on the machine so that they don't believe they're being talked to by a computer. And then don't leave things to chance. Don't just say, you know what, maybe they'll contact me again tomorrow. No, it's not going to happen. Remember that dating scenario? Yeah, you know, there's always someone better looking going to come along that has the better line for that. So don't leave it to chance. Respond for that. And there's free tools available for that. The way that Zillow works, if you have your own CRM, we have a CRM. We'll throw it in as part of the package if you buy any of the product. But we actually don't believe in just having one CRM. We have an open platform. And so we build out an API model. It's called the Tech Edge. And we work now with 18 different CRM products. And we'll flow the leads directly into that. So if you've got a CRM that you like, chances are they're probably on a list or in the process of connecting to Zillow. And we'll dump the leads directly into your own product, your own CRM, so that they can actually do that business for you. We don't want to try to lock you into our own. But if you don't have one, let us know. We'll make sure that you get one because you need to have one to be able to respond. This is the real scoop here. 900% decrease in the lead conversion after 5 minutes. So that's where that response is critical. And if you don't believe you can do it yourself, if you have a team for that, both on Zillow and in your own CRM, if you have a CRM product, or lead router product, or lead manager product, almost all of them have the ability to say, I'm offline, forward it to my partner, forward it to somewhere else. Even in Zillow, you can set it up and says, if it's over this price range, or if it's this type of property, automatically forward it to this other person, or if it's after this time, automatically forward it to my help desk, somehow to get connected to people so they do that. How do you do that? Make sure you study these and test your responses. Test the response and see what's the best one that gets back. How do you say, thanks for the email. What's the follow-up line? What's going to be the best one? They obviously want to know more information about that house. How do you get them to see it in person? Let me walk you through it. Let me tell you how this home is different than this estimate as we go through it, because I've been in it, I've seen it, I can actually show you all of those things. How would you prefer to work? Do you want to do email? Do you want to text? Do you want to stick it on phone? Be investigative to the consumer so that they have a reason to respond back to you. Call them first if you have a number. We most of the forms on Zillow have a phone number required for that, so you'll get one. Email immediately with something that's real. And remember this last one. Remember 50% of all of the buyers who are coming in, who are now in the market, are under the age of 40. And if you're under the age of 40, that's a significant marker. because you're not 50. No, I mean, no. It's the new 30, right? If you're under the age of 40 or 40 or under, it means that you are a digital native. Now, digital native means you grew up in the digital world. So your college, your first job, everything had computers in it. If you're older than that, you're what they call a digital migrant. So in other words, you migrated into the digital world. You actually established yourself on how many of you learned to type in an IBM Selectric? Yeah, okay, you're migrants, right? And so that's the way it works. For those who were word processor was the first computer, that they grew up in that world. 50% of the home buyers in the United States are now crossed that line, and they are digital natives. And so texting is going to become a key part of the future for that. Talk to you later, text. How many of you know that on an iPhone, if you receive a telephone call from another phone that the iPhone knows can receive text, if you're on the phone, it automatically pops up a menu, and you can hit it, and it'll send a text back saying, hey, I'm on the phone, I'll give you a call automatically for that. Use that stuff if you have it. Now, if you want to get more training on this, a whole bunch of stuff, Zillow.com/academy. And the only hard thing about it is remembering how to spell academy. It's got an E in it. But once you get that down, you go there, there's tutorials, there's training, there's manuals, there's actually interviews with agents that says, how did you become successful? And they actually tell everything that they did online. And so it's a free place. Anyone can go there and learn all about that. I love this. This is my son's favorite joke. Did you get it? Yeah, he thinks that's hysterical. I think it's aimed at me. I'm not sure why it's so funny. So, well, just to recap, as we wind towards a close here, fill your profile up. Make sure they have a reason to contact you. Make sure you have a convincing record. Make sure you have your recent sales in there. You are the advertisement. You are the person they want to contact for that. When you look at these profiles here, who is going to be contacted out of this for that? Chances are it's not the one on the top. And so that's the free one there. That's the one you want to make sure is full. Here's those forwarding rules. This is built into the program. So if you get an email, you can say, I'm not going to be available for a while. I'm going to pass it off to my help desk. I'm going to pass it off to somebody else, my partner. I'm going to pass it off to a team member, or I'm going to at least do something with it so that it's automatically responded to. Make sure that you get those reviews, get those your past clients to say things about you, and so that you can do that. You can actually go on to Zillow Academy, and there's a full webinar on exactly how to do that, how to set it up, and how to get those in there. The last thing I want to touch on, because this is actually fairly interesting, if you actually go to Zillow.com/research, because we are sort of, we're transparent. Anything we do, we sort of just regurgitate out onto the screen. All of the research that we do from our entire PhD department is actually posted online. So you can go there and you can see statistics from anywhere in the United States, including down to the Huntsville level. And so you can go in there and you can see what the national averages, the national change are, what the Huntsville home values are, how they have changed, the home forecast, whether we believe it's going to go up and whether it's going down. And this is the type of data the government is now starting to use because it's good. It goes through, this is an eye chart, but all of the information. In fact, there's a copy of it in that handout. The back page, I think, is a picture of this. You can go there to Zillow.com.research. You can print this out. You can use it as part of your marketing, use it part of your package. All of this is available. We update it every month across the nation for that. Every once in a while, we'll do a deep dive in an area. We'll do like affordability studies, rent versus buy, and that goes across the country as we do that. We'll do foreclosure rates and whether they're underwater. I think we just finished Boston, and we move across the country. So fascinating, interesting data, all there on Zillow.com/research. All right, so what's our core value? Our mission is to attract as many consumers to a site as possible, educate them, entertain them, fill them with information, and then connect them with professionals when they want to make that decision. Whether it's renting, whether that's mortgage, whether that's buying real estate, we cover all of those areas for that. Our idea is to get consumers engaged with professionals who can take them to that next level and providing positive messages for them. We do it across a whole series of networks. We run AOL, Yahoo, we have Google Now, and we have Front Door for that. And I don't know if you've ever seen some of the consumer advertising, but we're now spending close to $70 million per year doing advertisements on the site. Some of you may have seen this one. Let me just play it real quick. Maybe. Oh no, it's a good one. It makes people cry. Oh well. Go to Zillow.com/TV and you can see it. Have you seen this one? The soldier coming home? Yeah, that's always a good one. It's that closer, right? It kind of brings that tear to the eye. Our idea is Zillow is home. It's home for the American consumer. It's home for the real estate agent. It's home for the realtor to be there, to connect with those people. That's the feeling that we want people to get when we go there. That's why we're so open with information. We throw it out there on any type of property we can get for that. Thank you for your time. I certainly appreciate it. Hope you go to the site, investigate, play around with it, and learn.